Se você quer se livrar dos imigrantes ilegais, pare de comer. Isso é para todo mundo, em todo o país. Se você quer se livrar deles, pare de comer. Isso resolverá o
Mas
problema.
quando apenas 5 colhedores apareceram esta manhã para colher suas batatas doces, o agricultor Keith Smith viu uma possível ruína. A perda de sua colheita de $500 milhão.
Eles estão correndo assustados por causa dessa nova lei.
E você está em
Estou
apuros?
com problemas, grandes problemas.
As 200 acres de Smith precisam de 20 colhedores, principalmente mexicanos.
Não há pessoas documentadas suficientes aqui para suprir essa força de trabalho.
A maioria dos seus trabalhadores está aqui ilegalmente?
Isso é verdade. Se eles têm documentação, têm um emprego melhor trabalhando para mim.
Fernando Aldaman, um cidadão mexicano, trabalha na fazenda de Smith desde 1992. Todo mundo está com medo. Agora, você está aqui legalmente? Não? Então, você está com medo? Sim, estou com medo. Os colhedores de Smith ganham cerca de $100 por dia. Ele apoia as leis de imigração, só não essa que ameaça sua terceira geração.
Que porcentagem dos seus trabalhadores não nasceu nos Estados Unidos?
Provavelmente metade.
Cerca de metade? Quantas horas isso dura?
24 horas por dia, sabe? Poderíamos ordenhar 8 horas por dia. Mas não seria viável ou lucrativo para nós produzir leite.
Então, você precisa de trabalhadores assim o ano todo?
Sim.
Governadora Kristi Noem, de Dakota do Sul, sua fazenda está a apenas alguns quilômetros de distância. Este fazendeiro, que votou nela, que votou em Trump, que ainda os apoia, não acredita que eles iriam reunir imigrantes e perguntar pelo status de imigração deles, porque é um segredo aberto que as fazendas neste estado são sustentadas por trabalhadores sem documentos. Você está preocupado, como alguns dos seus outros fazendeiros, que se houvesse uma grande apreensão de imigrantes sem documentos, você poderia perder trabalhadores, não ter trabalhadores suficientes?
Bem, a pergunta que eu faço, como eles vão fazer isso? Em 2 dias, não teremos comida. Não haverá comida em lugar algum. Sim, isso é o que eu prevejo. Ninguém estará enchendo prateleiras, ninguém estará produzindo comida. Se alguma vez tivermos que fechar e sumir, nunca voltará.
A governadora Noemi entende isso?
Eu acho que sim.
Você demanda fazer as não fora como estão dizendo?
É basicamente isso que eu estou pensando. Temos que confiar em nossos oficiais que estão...
Sua fazenda lidando com a incerteza em torno desta guerra comercial.
Bem, muito obrigado por me receber. E o presidente disse que ele ama os agricultores e este é um momento muito crítico para os agricultores da América. Toda vez que o presidente usa a palavra tarifa, ele causa completa caos e confusão e... Isso criou um estado de emergência para os agricultores dos Estados Unidos. Neste momento, há $30 bilhões no USDA que não foram distribuídos aos agricultores americanos. É época de plantio. Não temos empréstimos operacionais agrícolas. Em prática, houve uma subvenção e outros serviços que foram cortados e congelados para os agricultores americanos. E minha mensagem para o presidente hoje é: se você ama os agricultores americanos, libere esse dinheiro para que os agricultores possam entrar no campo e colocar seus plantadores em...
Então, esta manhã eu acabei no Nebraska Talk e era um monte de gente chorando. Por que alguém se importa com Nebraska? Quando votamos em Kamala Harris, quando votei em Harris, era eu dizendo, eu me preocupo com você e quero que você sobreviva e prospere. Ok. Você sabia melhor do que ninguém que seu estado próspera e sobrevive à custa dos migrantes. Ok? E em vez de esperarem que o gelo chegasse, eles decidiram se acalmar antes que pudessem vir buscá-los. Eu não sei mais o que dizer a vocês. Foi nisso que votaram. Quer você goste ou não, quer você queira acreditar ou não, foi exatamente isso que votou. E agora você está sentindo isso. O que você quer que façamos? Você quer uma esmola do governo. Isso é socialismo. Você votou contra isso. Não. Infelizmente, a realidade é que você provavelmente terá que vender muitas de suas fazendas por centavo no dólar para grandes corporações e fabricantes. Mas não se preocupe, eles provavelmente deixarão você trabalhar lá por um salário mínimo.
Dezenas de milhares de fazendeiros de Nebraska ficarão falidos nos próximos 2 trimestres fiscais por causa disso. Eles queriam tanto que Trump fosse presidente que aprovaram uma regra dizendo que é tudo ou nada, sem divisões, e conseguiram colocá-lo. E agora as deportações estão chegando e ele está prestes a roubar uma porcentagem muito grande de sua já muito minguante força de trabalho. A maior parte da agricultura, colheita e produção de Nebraska era feita por trabalhadores indocumentados. E Trump vai ser muito rigoroso ao aplicar suas novas leis de deportação. E não vai ter ninguém para trabalhar nessas fazendas. As colheitas vão morrer nos campos, enquanto os fazendeiros de Nebraska vão à falência por causa da decisão que tomaram. E se eles acham que seus trabalhadores vão ficar, eles não vão. Eles não vão correr riscos, não com a família, não com os filhos, não com os empregos. Eles vão se esconder ou simplesmente ir embora para algum lugar.
The funniest ever. So this guy, for years, who always flown those Trump flags, well, now he turned the upside down because Trump is all the farmers. Look at this. I hope he them all up, man. This is between coming from Helena and going to Little Rock, and now all of a sudden his Trump 2024 flag is flying upside down. He had to pay a lot of money for that, man. They put that flagpole there, and for years he's always flown the Trump flags, and Trump fucked him in 2016 and to 2020, and now Trump's from 2025 all the way to 2028, and now now it's upside down and half mast. I hope he f***s out his whole farm. I hope he destroys them with his stupid terrorists and like he's f***ing all these farmers. Well, good for you, sir. I guess you f***ed around and found out, huh?
Remember when you guys all said that you were voting for Donald Trump because he was going to bring mortgage rates down faster and grocery prices down faster? Well, he already said he's not going to bring grocery prices down. And now the Fed is saying those rate drops they promised to be cutting in 2025, they're not going to be able to do that because his tariff policy is so inflationary that they're not going to be able to drop those rates down the way they said they were going to. Shoot! Because inflation is going to keep going up. And inflation was on its way down before he won the election. Under, who was that again? Biden-Harris. They were bringing inflation down. But Donald Trump, his policies are inflationary. They're going to be going back up, which means rates can't go back down. Sounds like you F around and find out.
I mean, 2 weeks. I'm done. You want to talk about regretting your vote?
I never thought I'd say that, but I regret my vote. I voted for Trump.
I voted for Trump, and I regret it now.
As a Hispanic, I voted for Donald J. Trump. Dude, I regret it so much, man.
I'm regretting my vote for Donald Trump.
I voted for Donald Trump, and now I regret it.
A lot of people who were like me voted for Trump and have to account for that.
I regret voting for Trump.
So deeply regret my vote for Donald Trump.
I regret voting for Trump.
I was a dumbass, voted for Trump. It was the worst decision I ever made.
I've seen the light, and I got out of MAGA. A lot of us there have seen the light. We have deep regrets.
I feel guilty because I voted for Trump twice. I feel very guilty because I feel responsible. That's why he's still running.
I was with Trump for 9 straight years. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in Trump right now.
Okay, why'd you vote for Donald Trump?
Well, to be honest, I wanted no tax on overtime, but I'm starting to regret my decision because I think it's a lie now.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Do you honestly think that's going to happen?
I don't.
I wanted to start off by saying I did vote for Donald Trump. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts even like, because whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, oh, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that that funding was set aside, so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding, they can't release the funds.
Around with your vote, now it's time you found out. Am I the asshole for cutting off my sons financially after they voted for Trump? I, 52 male, have 2 sons, Isaac, 22 male, and John, 20 male. My wife and I have always leaned left politically, and we've raised our kids to value equality, compassion, and critical thinking. We've had countless family discussions about politics and the impact of policies on people's lives. So you can imagine my shock when I found out after this last election that both of my sons voted for Trump. It came out during a casual family dinner when I asked, "So, who'd you guys vote for?" expecting them to either dodge the question or name one of the candidates aligned with our values. Isaac shrugged and said, "Trump. His policies just make the most sense right now." John chimed in, "Yeah, I mean, he's about protecting the economy. People like us need someone who gets that." I stared at them, stunned. "People like us?" I asked. "Boy, you've never paid for a single tank of gas, let alone rent or tuition. What exactly do you mean by that?" Isaac rolled his eyes. "Dad, I'm studying business. Trump's pro-business. It's not that deep." "It's plenty deep," I snapped. "You're backing someone who's gutted protections for the environment, undermined health care, and actively targeted marginalized communities." John shook his head. "You're just looking at the negatives. He's strong on immigration and keeping jobs here." The conversation spiraled into a heated debate. I couldn't understand how they, having grown up with every advantage I could provide, could support someone who champions policies that harm so many people. That night I thought about how much my wife and I had sacrificed to give them opportunities. I worked extra hours to cover their tuition so they wouldn't have student loans. I paid for their gas, car insurance, and even groceries. And this is what they choose to do with that privilege? A few days later, I told them my decision. "If you want to support Trump's policies, you should also live by them," I said. "From now on, you'll need to cover your own tuition, rent, and living expenses. Maybe then you'll understand the real-world impact of the policies you're endorsing." Isaac was furious. "Are you serious, Dad? You're just cutting us off because we disagree with you politically." "It's not about disagreement," I said firmly. "It's about accountability. You voted for someone who's against student loan forgiveness, so take out loans. You support someone who doesn't believe in raising the minimum wage, so get a job that pays what it pays and figure it out." John looked hurt. "You're being petty. This isn't how you change someone's mind." "This isn't about changing your mind," I replied. "It's about giving you a dose of reality. FAFO ain't just some cool hashtag you and your little friends use. It means there are consequences to your actions. Political choices have consequences. You're adults now. It's time to act like it. You fucked around with your vote. Now it's time you found out." My wife thinks I'm being too harsh. She worries this will damage our relationship with them long term. She said, "They're young. They're still figuring out their beliefs." "Beliefs have consequences," I told her. "They made a choice. Now they'll learn what that choice means." Some of my friends agree with me, saying it's a fair wake-up call. Others think I'm letting politics come between family and being unnecessarily cruel. So, am I the asshole for cutting off my sons financially because of their political choices? You know, you got a good point. I don't think you're the asshole. I think you're going to let them find out what they fucked around with, their vote. And voting has consequences.